guys! Today's video is going to be something a little bit different. It's going to be another just chatty video about a topic that I find quite interesting. I did one of these a few weeks ago and it was on female friendships and the representation of female friendship in television, and I really had fun with that video and I enjoyed doing it and I got some nice comments on it, and so I thought that I would do a similar video about a completely different topic. Now, I think that the title of this video is probably going to be slightly misleading because I don't watch scary films, and that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. I felt like I sort of missed the boat a couple of weeks ago because Halloween time I saw a lot of other TV and film vloggers doing videos about their top 5 Halloween films or their top 5 scary movies or their favourite horror films. And I was like, I can't make that video because I don't, like, kind of as a general rule, I don't watch horror films, and that's something that I kind of wanted to discuss. I read a book at uni and I'm really annoyed because I can't find it. I don't have it, but I can't find it online. I've been googling it to try and find out what the name of it was and I can't find what it was, which is annoying because I'm going to be referencing it quite a lot in this video and I feel really bad that I'm referencing a text that I can't like reference, if you know what I mean. Like I can't give it credit, like I can't credit the writer or the contributors anyway, but it was a book on screen violence and I was studying my class at the time was called Screen Audiences, and so it was basically exploring and understanding how audiences to films and television shows react to the text in front of them. We dealt with a lot of different types of text, so we dealt with reality television, we dealt with soap operas, we dealt with documentary type entertainment, but we also talked about horror and violent movies. The class was really interesting. It was quite split in terms of how people responded to it, so there were quite a few people in the class who were like, yep, I just don't watch horror films. I fell into that category, whereas the other half of the class really loved them, and it became a really interesting debate about why we feel that way and the psychology behind it. So this book that I can't remember the name of, I read a few I didn't read all of it, but I read a good few chapters of it and I found it absolutely fascinating. It was kind of trying to unpack the reasoning behind it, putting ourselves through watching horror films, violent films, scary television shows, that kind of thing. And figuring out why people want to watch these things or don't want to watch these things. I would like to clarify that when I say I don't watch horror films, I like thriller films. So I like, you know, maybe a crime film that is dealing with, you know, maybe trying to track down a murderer or something, so it's, you know, to do with the police. I'm thinking along the lines of kind of like Zodiac, that kind of thing. So a more thriller type film that is jumpy, I will happily watch something like that. What I don't watch is anything gory, anything with a huge amount of violence in it, which, as a fan of Dexter, I realise probably sounds utterly ridiculous. But I think for some reason I was kind of able to remove myself from what he was actually doing because I was very much invested in finding out about the character. I would probably say that for me, Dexter is kind of a one-off in terms of a sort of bloody programme that I watch. And it's not actually out of a fear of blood. I don't have a fear of blood. I can watch like medical things and sort of see sort of blood and guts in that context. And I don't, you know, I'm not squeamish about it. I'm not uncomfortable about it. It's just violent horror films, especially slasher films. So anything along the lines of Saw, Hostel, Wolf Creek, any of these like things that, as far as I'm aware, are just violent for violence sake. I can't understand, my brain can't understand why anyone would want to watch that, because I need a story that I can hold on to, I need characters that I can hold on to. If there's going to be violence in something that I'm watching, I need it to be absolutely integral to the story for me to be able to sit and watch it. If I am watching a film that is literally someone hacking off their own leg for no purpose, I can't do that. I can't watch that and I don't want to watch that. And I don't think that that is because, as I say, I'm squeamish or that I don't like seeing blood, because I'm, you know, as I say, in terms of medical type things, I'm fine with that. But I just don't want to put myself through that. This book examined that and basically found that that was the case for a lot of people. For a lot of people, they just couldn't, their brain couldn't compute that. It couldn't understand why anyone would want to see something so violent and awful. Whereas the other group of people, or, you know, it was obviously split into varying sort of degrees of reasoning, but for a lot of people it was a way of testing their own personal boundaries. So for a lot of people, watching these kind of horror violent films and putting themselves through it and managing to watch it to the end was a victory, because they managed to sit through it and they felt this feeling of triumph that they had managed to watch this really scary thing and get through it unscathed. I don't care enough to do that. I don't care enough, even if I felt the smallest glimmer of satisfaction at managing to sit through something like that. There is absolutely no way for me that could possibly outweigh the trauma of actually sitting watching it. So it's interesting because it just shows you how differently people's brains work. So people apparently liked to challenge themselves in that way, and they used it as a measure of seeing how much, how brave they were, how much they could cope with. This was then obviously looked into a lot further, and in terms of people's psychology, for some people that was just a very straightforward, it genuinely was just a testing of their boundaries for fun. For other people it had deeper significance and it related to things that they'd been through in their lives. It then obviously starts to kind of slip into a much more kind of serious psychology, which I'm not really going to talk about today, but it was a really interesting part of the book. The other thing that it looked into was the places that people were comfortable watching violent movies, and there was kind of a category split again here, where some people said that they would absolutely go and see a horror film in the cinema, but they would never watch a horror film in the house because they didn't want to invite that energy or that sort of fear into their home. They wanted to go out on a night out to the cinema with their friends, watch a scary film, get a thrill from that, and then come home to the kind of safety and security of their home. Another group of people, however, were of the opinion that they would absolutely never go and see a horror film in the cinema, but they would watch it in the house because if it got to be too much for them, they could switch it off. So they weren't as worried about having it invited into their home because they felt that they could stop it and they were in control of the experience and they could watch as much as they could cope with and then switch it off at any time. Whereas if they were in the cinema, they would either feel too embarrassed to get up and leave and have to sit through it, or just get up and leave halfway through. So I thought that was really interesting. I thought, because for me, I don't do either, but I thought it was interesting to hear that reasoning, because it makes a lot of sense that for some people you wouldn't want to watch something like that in your safe space, which is your home, but you see it as more of a kind of like thrilling outing, if that makes sense. My best friend is much more likely to watch horror films than I am. She has got kind of a taste for it and she's always quite enjoyed it. And it is the one thing that we just don't watch together, because we watch, we'll watch TV together, we will watch cute romantic films, we will watch comedy films, we'll watch dramas. The only thing that we don't watch together is horror films, and it's because I just don't do it. And then, there's then certain films that come out that people then end up talking about and you think, oh, should I just watch it so that I can be involved in the conversation? But I just think that for me, it's just not worth it. It's not worth feeling uncomfortable, because I know that I think a lot about everything, but I think a lot about films and TV shows, and they stay with me, and I have sort of, analyse them and think about them quite a lot. And so for, a comedy film or a drama film or a romance film, that's fine. But for me to be spending time, for me to walk out of a film, I don't think I could just put a switch off in my brain to go, no, we're not going to think about this anymore. We've left the cinema now. We forget about that. I think it would stay with me, and I just don't think it's worth it. But I saw so many people making Halloween related videos that I would really love to know your thoughts in the comments down below about why you watch scary films or why you don't. If you are of a similar mindset to me, that you just have never really been interested in putting yourself through the trauma, then let me know and we can talk about it together. Or if you are a huge horror film fan, I would love to know what some of your favourites are, why you enjoy watching them, what it is about them that you really get a kick out of. And yeah, we can have a little debate in the comment section if you guys are up for it. So I'm going to leave it there. This was just a random chatty video, but I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up to let me know, and you can hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and get updates when I upload new videos. Thanks again for watching. I hope that you're having a great week, and I will speak to you again soon. Bye. I don't know if that's something to do with trying really hard to represent women as strong and independent, so by doing that